Welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 447. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this evening, Daniel for Four Boxing News and the Inscriber. Unfortunately, Gail will not be with us this evening, but um, we have another guest still. You've heard him on the show. Longtime listeners of Pound for Pound Boxing Report have heard this brother on the show before. He's back for us. He's back with us this evening. Marquise, Marquise, aka Weak Sauce Radio on Twitter. What's going on, Marquise?
Not much, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Hanging in there, hanging in there. For those who are not familiar with you, and your boxing expertise, for those, just give a back drop on where people can follow you if they want to talk all things boxing.
Yeah, pretty much. Still at the easiest way to find me, man. Easily just follow the handle at Weak Sauce Radio. That's on Instagram, Twitter, all your nonsense, social media platforms. That's the best bet in this point. I'm still freelancing around.
Indeed. And for those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, once again, Pound for Pound Box Report, um, talking all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, it will get discussed. If you want to find out anything, anything regarding Pound for Pound Box Report, the site is the place um, to go to, p4pboxingreport.com. If you wish to email us with any questions or comments, you can um, do so. You can do so P4P Boxing at p4pboxingreport.com. On the site, you'll find links to where to check out Pound for Pound Boxing Report all over social media, links to the YouTube channel, links to the Facebook, uh, Twitter, IG page, also links to where to find us all over the podcast realm, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Anchor, whether it's Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, you should be able to find Pound for Pound Box Report. If you want to donate, would matter to us. It's $1, $2, $5. Any contribution will be um, grateful. We will be grateful for any contribution. Got a Cash Me, PayPal donation links. With summer fast approaching, for my fellow fitness enthusiasts, please check out the link on the Pound for Pound Box Report site to Body, BODI, formerly known as Beachbody on Demand's fitness programs for any and all suitable interests and goals. If you're looking for a boxing specific program, please check out 10 Rounds. That is a 6-week program, 3 days a week of boxing based cardio, 2 days a week of resistance / weight work. At the very least, take advantage of the 2-week trial that goes on throughout the year. And that is for 14 days, you get free access to any and all programs on BODY, including the sample workout of the new program Dig Deeper, which is set to release later on this year. Let's get things going this evening, fellas. Recapping what went down this past weekend, and let's start with the card in Saudi Arabia. Of course, the Matchroom, or the Queensberry versus Matchroom versus Queenberry, 5 versus 5 card. Normally, we do things starting with ladies first with Gail, but since she's not with us this evening, let's start with our special guest. The main event of this card was the return of Deontay Wilder fighting Zhang. Wilder said, Marquise, that basically this is going to be a test, whether he still has it or not. And based on what we saw, it looks like he doesn't have it anymore. The action was pretty mundane, aka boring, throughout the first 3 rounds. Wilder tried to got his engines going a little bit in round 4, but the momentum he started to build in that round quickly subsided in the following round as Zhang caught Wilder with a counter right hook, which had literally Wilder spinning on his heels. A follow-up punch from Zhang put Wilder down. I saw some chattering in these boxing social media streets that the finishing shot from Zhang, was a bit unfair. In my estimation, old school logic here: protect yourself at all times. The referee didn't really step in. Zhang just took advantage of an exposed Wilder, hit him, and basically finished him off. In the end, there are questions about Wilder in the aftermath of this fight. Does he still have it? Should he retire? I think at this point, Marquise, it may be time for Deontay Wilder to call it a day.
No, it's done, and it's beyond done. But the problem with it, actually, and the only question just in the fight is that nothing really happened until that knockout happened in the fifth. Essentially, the first 3 rounds, as you mentioned, he was pretty much in the corner half the freaking time. I mean, what was he supposed to do? He wasn't really doing much of anything except smothering and being stuck in a corner all day. It was pretty useless. But no, he's allowed to speak about it. But I'm thinking at the end of the day, no, I'm assuming it's all done for him, and we all know this already. That part's just a formality. It's just interesting that at the end of the day, with this fight, that I thought as a whole, and hate to spoil the ending for everybody, but the main event was just the cherry on a one-sided icing cake of Queensberry promotion beatdowns. That's all.
Man, listen. Matchroom got bodied. Did they win a match? Did they win a fight throughout this whole card?
No.
And that's the point. It was funny. Eddie Hearn, at least he's able to laugh at himself about it. Posted a video talk about how disappointing it was, and he kind of panned to a shot of Frank Warren, giving him the business about that. Back to this fight, Daniel. I don't think that Wilder has been the same since that second fight with Fury, where Fury not just beat him and stopped him, he beat him up in savage fashion. He was an outright menace, vicious in that second fight with Wilder, to the point where he was licking Wilder's own blood, right? They fought a third time. Even though Wilder scored a couple of knockdowns of Fury, it was still, for the most part, a similar beating. And even in the previous fight, the loss with Joseph Parker, the vaunted right hand that we're used to seeing from Wilder, it wasn't there. He wasn't throwing it. He was hesitant, slow with his punches, and it showed itself again in this fight. Again, I say, Daniel, I think it's time for Deontay Wilder to call it a day and retire.
I agree with Marquise. It's been, sorry about that, but it's been long time, unfortunately, that Wilder should have hang the gloves up. But the thing about it, unfortunately, he is a personality. And you still need those in boxing, especially bombastic personalities that can draw crowds, can bring fans into the stands. But this fight should be a complete indicator. As soon as I saw on the weigh-in that he was coming back not even over 220 pounds, and then looking at Zhang coming in almost at 270, I kind of feel this was going to be the result, because
Zhang was 282.
I thought it was. Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. That's even worse. Because at the end of the day, we saw, like you mentioned it, the Fury guy, like Paul, that which is pretty much just
I'm gonna stop you right quick, Daniel, because your sound is a little bit distorted. So please repeat yourself, please.
Oh, okay. No, I said this should be the exclamation point. The regression of Wilder, and I feel bad. I feel bad that still the best technical performance that we've seen from Wilder has been the first Stubborn fight almost 9 years ago. And there hasn't been an improvement since. And since the Fury fights, his legs have been gone. So hopefully somebody, and doesn't matter if it's Dees, Malik Scott, somebody has to sit down with him and saying, you've done enough, you've made your money, you've made sure that your daughter is going to be well taken care of. there's no shame in hanging it up now. At least you're going out with your faculties rather than going out being a little bit, let's say, uh, a lot worse for wear mentally.
Well, he said in the lead up to this fight that if he were to lose, he's going to contemplate hanging up the gloves. Let's hope that he's a man of his words. Now let's switch to Zhang, and I'm going to point this question to the both of you. He got this win here, right? He's been in the spotlight really for the past year plus, well, 2 years really, going back to his impressive performance in a questionable defeat to Filip Hrgovic, and we're going to talk about him in a bit. He coming off of the close loss to Parker, got this win here. Where does Zhang fit now in this heavyweight landscape that's still kind of up in the air in a certain level outside of Fury and Usyk? Where does Zhang go? Starting with you, Marquise.
It all signs point to Joshua, right? I think there's really not too much else left. Once you named it in terms of the heavyweights, for as many names that we have mentioned over the last few years, like you mentioned all of them. After that, what's left after Joshua? We got Parker still. I mean, we've seen that already. I mean, Dubois. He was on this card. I mean, there's really not much.
Same question to you, Daniel.
Yeah, he's unfortunately right now in that second tier of heavyweights where it's mainly his age that's causing him to probably not be really at the top echelon of the heavyweights, or the other ones that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But he's going to be a serviceable contender or serviceable gatekeeper that you can show that if you can beat this type of guy, that pretty good southpaw, tall, big, can land combinations fairly well, and it's a little bit slick, he can still bring about a lot of business. But like I say, given the dramatic beatdown that Queensberry gave to Matchroom in this card, like I say, he's not going to unfortunately get a date with Usyk or Joshua anytime soon.
You mentioned in this discussion, Joshua's name was mentioned as a possible opponent for Zhilei Zhang. I beg to differ, and it's the reason because of the next fight we're going to talk about here, and that is between Daniel Dubois and Filip Hrgovic. And this was kind of a grudge match, Daniel, because these two gentlemen had sparred previously, and by all accounts, Hrgovic dominated Dubois in that sparring session a few years ago. Dubois, in the lead-up, was promising that I'm a different man, I'm a different fighter, I'm a different beast, right? And he proved it in this matchup. I got to applaud Dubois, Daniel, because ever since the first loss of his career, the stoppage loss to last year, fighting the now undisputed champion, he's kind of picked himself up and has had an impressive run. He beat Baby Miller late last year, in his previous fight, I should say. And against this fight against Hrgovic, Hrgovic was landing some hard shots. Dubois losing to Usyk last year. But in this fight against Hrgovic, Hrgovic was landing some big hard shots. And I was unsure because Dubois was fighting hard, but again, he was getting hit. But over time, you can see that Dubois started to figure some things out. He decided to come on. And once he got his teeth into the fight, you could see Hrgovic begin to unravel. And by the middle rounds, Hrgovic was on shaky legs. Dubois ended up stopping him, I believe, in 8. The resurrection the resurfacing of Daniel Dubois continues. As impressive as people thought that his win over Big Baby Miller was, I was even more impressed with this win here.
This was a good. This was the good indicator for Dubois, because Big Baby was not. He was not going to be it. I'm sorry, he was not going to be the measurement mark after losing to Usyk the way he did. But with Hrgovic, they did show a good amount of flaws. Unfortunately, early on, Hrgovic could not.
I think Daniel's sound is going out on us. So, Marquise, if you don't mind, continue the conversation.
Yeah, no, the big thing I thought that was interesting with the matchup with Dubois and Hrgovic that I thought was really interesting was that Hrgovic just came in one way and didn't make the adjustment when Dubois did, however, which I thought was really impressive, especially in the later rounds when he clipped him and where he was just slowly getting cut up on, especially when his eyes because he kept coming in. It was really impressive in that aspect, Michael, because you would have thought Hrgovic at some point would have either battered him down or at some point stop him sooner or later. But no, he just kept pressuring through, and it was really incredible.
Dubois showing a better chin than I thought he had, and he's showing to me. He's also showing that he's tougher than I thought that he was. Particularly the way that he a lot of people felt that he quit. Not necessarily in the Usyk fight, but his first defeat against Hammerhead, as I like to call him. Following this fight with Hrgovic, which was for the interim IBF title, it looks like that Usyk may be stripped of that IBF belt. Him and his team are trying to petition the IBF to keep the belt. But if they decide to outright strip him, it only makes sense to me that we see a fight between Dubois and Joshua for the full IBF belt after the fight, post-fight press conference, Marquise, and you can follow up, Daniel. Dubois mentioned that he's been told that Joshua is going to be next. It looks like Joshua is going to fight again in September. Can 1 and 1 make 2 here and say that we could see Dubois and Joshua this fall for the IBF heavyweight title? This is for you, Marquise, and then you can follow up, Daniel.
Oh, my bad, Michael. Yeah, no, it's a possibility in that aspect if they can actually plow through with it. I really do wonder, in the history of boxers and teams ever petitioning these sanctioning bodies, Michael, has anything really been overturned in the last 30 years? It's damn near impossible. So I expect Usyk to be stripped, whatever the case may be, and then we get this Dubois Joshua fight.
I'll go to you, Daniel, if you're back. Unmute your mic, please. Scenario, should that play out, how do you see a fight between Joshua and Dubois going? I think we still have some technical issues with Daniel, so I'll go to you, go back to you, Marquise. That question is yours.
Yeah, just in terms of that matchup, it'll be interesting to see whose jab's going to stick out more than anything else, because that was the one thing that Joshua's gotten by in these last few fights. And Dubois impressed me with that, pretty much just battering Hrgovic over in this last fight, honestly. It's close. That's a close one.
Yeah, I lean towards Joshua because I've been impressed with his last couple of outings. On balance, I think that AJ is the better technical fighter overall. On balance, I think he has the better jab, the slightly better mover, right? The better overall boxer. But Dubois has shown himself to be a very tough guy. And if you stand there and fight with him, you could be in some trouble. And I don't want, if Joshua was to get seduced into a firefight, you never know. You never know. Let's move on to some other fights here. Dmitry Bivol fighting. This was supposed to be a fight for undisputed at 175 with Bertabiev, as we all know. Bertabiev had to withdraw due to injury. Instead, Bivol defended his WBA light heavyweight belt against kind of guy by the name of Zinad. I mean, listen, Marquise, when you in there and when you are a elite fighter or supposed elite fighter against an inferior opponent, the expectation is you handle business and you dominate, and that's what Bivol did. Pretty much had his way with Zinad, ended up stopping him in six. First stoppage win for Bivol in quite a few years. He just basically did what we had to do, and hopefully we will see him and Beterbiev this fall for all the belts at 175. This is for you. This is for you, Marquise. If you didn't hear me, as I'll repeat again because I think you will knock down on me.
All right.
When you are a dominant fighter or perceived elite fighter, and you're in there against an inferior opponent, the expectation is that you not just win but dominate, and that's what Bivol did here. Got a stoppage win first time he stopped an opponent in quite a few while. He handled it, and hopefully now we will finally get the fight with Beterbiev for all the belts at 175.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get that fight more sooner or later. Honestly, that Bivol fight was a kind of a waste of time once it's all said and done because the guy only had one jab, which once Bivol pretty much found a way to counter it after the second round, it was one-way traffic. It was really, really boring. It was just lopsided action. It was just like they couldn't have found anybody else besides this guy. Was my thinking, but it's whatevs. But yeah, hopefully we get at the end of the day. This just ensures we still get better Bivol sooner or later. Hopefully at the end of the year, once all things shake out.
And from what I'm hearing, early on in the days after the fight, that match is going to happen either in October or November back in Saudi Arabia. Hopefully that is the case because we've long been wanting a fight between these two cats for all the belts at 175. Again, fingers crossed that it does happen. Last but certainly not least, the fight I want to highlight on this card. Ray Ford, right, defending the WBA belt at 126 against Nick Ball, who last time fight fans remember seeing Ball. I thought he beat Ray Vargas in the fight for the WBC belt at 126. Fought Ford here, Marquise. I can make the strong case that it was a draw. I still can't really, watching it back a couple of times, I still can't figure out who won. If folks want to say that Ball won by a point or two, okay, I can't push back against it. It ended up split decision. The thing for me is, coming into the fight, Ford was complaining that 126 was not easy to make. He was wanting to move up to 130. He said that after he won the title. Eddie Hearn talked him into having one more fight at 126, and it was to his detriment. He came on strong late, but he looked sluggish in the opening. Another sign that he probably has weight issues. All signs here is that his next fight will be at 130 pounds, where he probably should have been at from jump.
Yeah, for this one, yeah, this should have been a fight that he should have done at 130. I'll give Ford credit that he came on in the second half, but those one of those fights where honestly I saw the draw that you saw too personally, but they coin flipped it, they gave it the ball. So it's like whatever. It's like it didn't sound like Ford was there for the long haul, and honestly the fight was one of those. I'm glad I applaud you for watching it back, Michael. I mean I was kind of one and done with that one, but hopefully we'll see what we get with at 130. But credit the Ball, by the way, because he was robbed like you mentioned that Vargas fight. So
let's see if Daniel's here. I'm unmute your mic, Daniel. If you're with us, unmute your mic. And do you have any thoughts on Ford and Ball?
Yeah, this was the fight of the night. Pardon me a moment. It was the fight of the night because you saw the ebbs and flows. You saw how difficult it is for Nick Ball to actually get punches in, but he finds creative ways. Like the way he found the uppercut going in was a beautiful shot that guys in his size don't normally get credit for doing it. And then landing the overhand right, that was good. Unfortunately, Foster didn't really do well, unfortunately, in the first half. But in the second half, he picked up pace and was able to win. I think what may have won the fight for ball was how aggressively he came out in that last round. That's probably what really won him the fight in the eyes. And as good as Foster was doing, Ford was doing in the second half of the fight, he never could quell the aggression of ball. So that was a good victory for him. It's kind of a way of repaying for getting screwed out of the WBC belt. But at the end of the day, luckily he has a belt. It should have been a unification, but also another tip in the cap for Queensberry, because Jesus Christ, this card was a massacre for Queensberry here.
Not good for one Eddie Hearn at all. Let's move to some news here. And if you guys know any news stories, please, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to talk about it here. But the main thing I want to focus on right now is over the last 24 hours, word has been spreading from Japanese boxing circles that unified junior flyweight champion Kenshiro Teraji has made the decision to vacate his belts, move up to 112, with intentions of fighting for the now vacant WBC flyweight belt. That title was formerly held by Julio Cesar Martinez, who vacated and is moving up to 115 pounds. Thoughts on Teraji? I'll go back to you, Daniel. Reportedly deciding to let go of the titles at 108. There was rumors that he was in talks to fight IBF champion Nashinga later on this year. That negotiations were ongoing for that, apparently. But it looks like Teraji has decided to go a different route and on and upward to 112.
Everybody's maybe starting to line up, trying to rush for a Tokyo Dome in a way family face-off. That looks to be the case, but we also have to remember Kenshiro has been that way for a pretty good while, and it would not surprise me if he was already having trouble making the weight. It's a good thing it's a good thing that he's moved up, that he's moving up now instead of trying to stay in too long. So I expect good fights in the future because he's one of those guys that you set your alarm to when it comes to seeing his fights, and it makes it worth it. And in a whole new weight division, whole new playground.
And with Martinez, Marquise, moving up to 115, with Bam Rodriguez moving up to 115 pounds as well, seems like good timing for Teraji. The division is wide open. You're going to soon have three of the four world sanctioning titles vacant. With Teraji coming off what a lot of people feel was a disputed win over Carlos Canizales. I believe that was earlier this year. Teraji, to Daniel's point, Teraji has been champion, been at division, been at the top at 108 pounds for a while. He's 30 plus now. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense all in all. I mean, time's up at this point. So, and if you have a chance to move up to a division where pretty much it's looking like an open, it is going to be wide open once everyone's moving up to log jam 115. At what's going to be at 115, by the way. But yeah, no, it all makes sense. I'm fine with it.
Indeed. Again, the goal, the intention from what I'm hearing is that he's going to fight for his intention is to fight for the vacant WBC belt at 112 pounds. Look for him to soon if this is the case, look for him to soon into the high rankings and the number one WBC flyweight contender is a guy by the name of Ladarsabal. Francisco Rodriguez is ranked number 2. So Teraji will probably fight one of those guys for the vacant belt. And again, because the flyweight division is in major transition and overall right now, his prospects at 112 look very good. News that also broke over the last 24 hours or so is that Jerron Boots Ennis, IBF belt holder at 147, was supposed to fight Cody Crowley next month, but Crowley has been forced to withdraw because of eye issues. The search continued. The search is ongoing, Marquise, for an opponent. And even though Boots put out a tweet saying that don't worry, he's still going to defend the belt against a quote unquote highly ranked opponent. When you look at the IBF rankings, where and who?
There is nobody. Let me give you the closest name that is even of relevance was your boy Karen. We saw that fight before, and he's ranked 7, but he already won. He's in the picture for it because he won the Eliminator 2 weeks ago. I want to say like back in May, but that's not going to happen in 5 weeks, and there is no one else that the IBF can throw at him. It's going to be somebody I'm sure is going to sign off the couch, but it's not going to be anybody that we think is going to have any chance at all in a homecoming fight for Boots Ennis. So.
Have you heard anything from your end, Daniel, in terms of what could possibly be up for Boots, his next opponent? Because I just don't see it. For me, the best option is maybe push this date back from July 13th, because it looks like it's going to be extremely hard to get him a suitable opponent, unless they're just going to throw any old body in there with him.
Now, I just want to make sure, to my understanding, is this a mandatory defense or voluntary?
I am pretty sure it was originally Crowley was the mandatory.
Oh, because it's one thing like to go to injury. It's really another to fail an eye exam in New York of all places. So that's going to be, they may need to push it back, because I'm looking at the IBF rankings and season. Yeah, there's nobody credible that you can actually throw in there, and especially for this type of fight, because it's not only the homecoming for Boots. This is his debut on the zone, and I believe his official or second fight under the Matchroom banner. And considering the beating that Matchroom has taken over the weekend, they're going to want to really cross their T's and dot their I's when it comes into this. So they may need to push this back and may just honor the tickets, and that'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated here on Pound for Pound Boxing Report regarding the situation of Gerard Boots and his debut with Matchroom, and who it will be against. Again, he was supposed to fight Cody Crowley. Boots was in his hometown of Philadelphia. Crowley had to withdraw due to eye issues. Again, who will Boots' opponent be from now? We'll keep you updated. Let's move on to some talk about some upcoming fights. Okay, I'm laughing here I'm pausing because I'm laughing inside. Adrien Broner, Blair Cobbs. Who wants to touch this fight? I see sideshow and train wreck written all over it.
This is to be the best fight we get all summer, guys. I don't know what you're talking about, Michael. Come on, man. Have you seen the puppet? Have you seen the media workouts? I haven't seen much interesting in a media workout in years.
Cobbs,
So
the best thing is that Cobbs, it is rare that someone gets the better of Broner when it comes to trash talking. But if there's one fighter who can out trash talk Adrien Broner, it is one Blair Cobbs.
absolutely been hilarious promotion for this nonsense. But once the bell goes ding, does anybody think Broner has anything left? Well, I mean, he went life and death last time, guys, about a year ago with that Hutchinson guy, and who nobody knew.
You mean
so?
The basically part-time boxer, full-time lawyer?
Yeah. Once you're fighting, legal aids. I mean, you got to know. So I'm not expecting much from Broner at all here. I know Cobbs hasn't fought in a minute, but the last time we saw him, it was against higher competition, and when that happens, you just got to go with the better guy there. So I'm expecting Cobbs to murder this man, but it's gonna be funny talking all the way up to it. Just still got a few more days to go.
And that's the thing, Daniel. In truth, Cobbs is basically a C-level fighter. But when was the last time we've seen Adrien Broner look good in a fight, win or lose? To Marquis' opponent, he basically fought a part-time fighter last time out, and that part-time fighter, full-time lawyer, made Broner go the distance. There's always been questions over the past handful of years about Broner's commitment, about his mental shape, about his physical shape. He once again claims that he's going to be ready, he's serious, and quote unquote ready to die. But yeah, that's all been all talk with Broner. Too much evidence over the last few years suggests that he's not serious. He didn't have the mindset of a fighter anymore, and a lot of people agree with Marquis here that despite Cobbs being pretty mid as a fighter, that he's going to beat Broner here.
Yeah, at this point, it's just become like a sad freak show, unfortunately, when it comes to attractions. And that's not to say that I'm calling Adrien Broner a freak, but it's the level of attraction that you are looking to get. That these guys aren't going to be challenging anybody soon for a belt, but they've been entertaining. I'll admit they've been entertaining in the lead up. Blair Cobb, one of the things that he always does, he is a wrestling promo guy when it comes to promotion of his fights. But once the bell rings, this is going to be sad. I don't think I'll be as disappointed as I was for like the Mike Tyson Roy Jones deal, but it might reach that level considering the level of each guy and the lack of expectation of whoever wins, let alone anybody that loses.
Yeah, Broner Cobbs is going to happen Friday, June 7th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Outside the fight itself, my big question is who's actually going to pay the money to who's going to pay to get this fight, because I believe this is pay-per-view. Don King pay-per-view. No, thank you. Also on that night in New York, on the Zone, Marquis, very entertaining fighter Oscar Collazo, WBO champion at 105 pounds. I think strawweight with him and Yadai. No, I mean not in Shigeoka, who has the IBF belt. Yadai Shigeoka, right? And Daniel's boy, knockout CP Freshmart, one of the low-key better divisions. No, not Yadai, Kenshiro Teraji, who has the IBF belt. My apologies. And Daniel's guy, CP Freshmart, one of the slept-on divisions in boxing. I watched Collazo, his last few fights, Marquis. I believe he's one of the better young fighters in the sport. I believe he's one of the better fighters overall in the lower weight divisions. You look at him, he's not exceptionally fast, doesn't have exceptionally fast hands, doesn't have exceptionally fast feet, but he's one of those guys who does everything well, technically sound, solid defense, good puncher, good boxer, makes for a package that's going to be hard to beat. He defends the belts against a guy by the name, against Gerardo Zapata, and Collazo has been impressive in his last few outings, winning the belt in his first couple of title defenses. I think he's going to continue to be impressive in this fight against Zapata.
No, I agree with you there. No, in fact, he's highly favored as well. The one thing that I like about Collazo, as you just mentioned, he's just an all-around just machine where he just applies pressure in like different ways that you don't see from the guys at that weight class. And especially before Collazo got this belt, Michael. Usually, this is like the division that the belt was always like a hot potato kind of thing because like it's just little guys, anything can happen. But no, this guy's been holding on to it for a solid minute here, and I'm a big fan. I think he's going to continue rolling here.
And I'm hearing word that there's been talks between Collazo and Kenshiro Shigeoka. Daniel, if that happens, that's one of the best fights, and that would be one of the best fights in boxing that people are going to sleep on. Both of those dudes. Kenshiro is the faster guy with the hands and the feet, more explosive, maybe the hardest puncher in the division. Collazo is one of the all-around better fighters in the division. He can punch too. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that Collazo takes care of business. Kenshiro has a fight coming up this summer as well. If they were to fight late 2024, early 2025, I'll get up early to watch it.
Oh yeah, and we'll say one thing: Collazo is also one of the few right now, probably champions that Golden Boy has that's credible and that can easily draw a crowd. Because you got to remember, I do believe this is the Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend.
Yes.
And yeah, think of it. That's normally the territory for like the big guys, like even sideshows. Like you would expect somebody like Edgar Berlanga to be the one showcased here, but no, this is Oscar Collazo. He's the one being showcased. Also, we got to remember Xander Zayas is doing it too on Top Rank, but he's a champion, and this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun fight to see if he makes it through, because him and Hideyoshi are just going to throw bombs at each other. Because Collazo likes to scrap. He loves to scrap. And if you give me that fight, usually in Tokyo, I'll be up anyway because it'll be my sister's birthday too. But that'll be an entertaining fight to see. And like I said, Golden Boy kind of needs to.
Before we move on to the rest of these previews, one story I forgot to talk about here, and I'll go to you on this one, Marquise. With that quote unquote fight between Tyson and Paul being postponed, there's been a lot of questions about what's going to happen with the rematch between Katie Taylor and Mana Serrano. I'm hearing that fight could possibly land in Germany. What have you been hearing on the status of the rematch between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano?
No, Germany's the first I've ever heard about that one, man. I have the slightest idea, and out of all the places, Germany for that rematch, that seems a little seems a little random. I don't know if someone's just spinning a globe around and just putting their finger on places, but no, it's gonna be the co-main event of this Jake Paul card whenever it gets rescheduled or reshuffled to whenever. Who knows when? But they sound determined to make this fight happen for whatever reason. I don't know why. I really don't understand it either, but it's a thing.
Those are the two words. Those are the words. It is a thing, because I don't count this as a real fight, because I don't care if it's sanctioned or not.
Oh no.
Jake Paul,
listen, Michael.
57-year-old Mike Tyson. Come on.
Listen, Mike, when we actually watch the sport, we understand that Mike Tyson hasn't been relevant in actual boxing ring since 9/11. I mean, what are we doing here? So,
right, indeed. Just yeah. Let's move back into some real boxing here. And Daniel mentioned this is weekend of Puerto Rican Day Parade. The big Puerto Rican Day Parade card is happening at Madison Square Garden, New York City. Xander Zayas is going to be the main event, but on the undercard, Carrington, thought by many to be the best overall, or one of the best, if not the best overall prospect in boxing. He's run by 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies now. He says that he's ready for the likes of Inoue. He says that he wants a world title fight in 2025. But before all of that, he's fighting a guy by the name of the Gracia, who's a late replacement. You can talk about that fight if you want, but given all the buzz surrounding Shushu Carrington, from what I've seen him, I like him a lot. Um, how close do you think he is to competing with the very best in a featherweight division um, that is really, as I'm much like the flyweight division with Teraji, the featherweight division is kind of in transition with Navarrete moving up to 130 and 135. None of the reigning world champions, Ray Vargas, Lopez, the guy who beat Rabisi earlier this year, no one distinguishable at that weight. No one has
Yeah.
separated. Shushu believes he can come in and be the man. How close do you think he is to trying to prove himself to be the man at 126?
You know what? I'm not. Who am I to say that Shushu doesn't think he's not ready? At this point, I think he is, and him facing these guys that they're coming in off of 3 days notice isn't really going to help the cause either, to be honest with you. But then again, the guy that they originally had set up for him was Vivas. I mean, let's be honest, Michael. This top rank card up and down. I'm looking at it on BoxRec. It's a showcase of showcases. So this is what it is. But I do think he's ready. Honestly, man. I mean, the guy that beat Robisi, that as you mentioned, is probably the guy they're trying to line him up with it once this goes through. Honestly, so because that was for the WBO belt, and as we all know, it's Bob's belt. When Bob wants a title to be set up, it happens. So he's due.
All right, I'll go to you, Daniel. Same question applies to you. On the surface, Carrington seems to have it all. Um, Big for the division, tall for the division. He kind of looks like and fights like a poor man's Tommy Hearns when Hearns was coming up at welterweight in the late 70s, right? Um, Big power.
Mhm.
He's mature for his age at 27. He's mature for a guy with a limited number of fights, the limited number of professional fights at 27. Given his talent, given his age, um, that spells a fighter that can be moved up quickly. And again, given the fact there's nothing special at 126, I know Nick Ball just won the title beating Ford, but I don't consider him a level fighter. Ray Vargas, we saw what he did against Ball. I thought he lost. Um, Luis Alberto Lopez, the IBF champion, he's up and down. Rafael Espinoza, was he really that impressive against Robisi Ramirez, or did Robisi Ramirez let his foot off the gas in that fight? So there's an unknown question about Espinoza as well. Shushu believes he can be the man, can win a world title. My response is I don't see anything to dispute his argument.
Yeah, it's a pretty open field right now at 126, given the champions. Yeah, I know we talked about Ball, how he won, but it's also Paul's pretty small guy for the weight. That's pretty easy pickings for somebody that is as skilled and is as patient as usual is when it comes to the ring. And we know what Ray Vargas is at this point, unfortunately. And Espinoza, that's still a question mark. I probably want to see him rematch Rosie Ramirez first before anything.
Right.
But so the avenue is there. 2025, the avenue is there. And as long as he can maintain the weight, which I do believe Carrington can, and as long as he just keeps his head down, don't rock the apple cart, yeah, you're probably going to see him with a belt by the end of 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the undercard of the main event again, headlined by Xander Zayas fighting Patrick Teixeira. I believe Teixeira was a former champion WBO version. I'll go back to you, Daniel. Listen, Zayas, highly touted. I think he's a real talent, but there's still some questions about competition. He's ranked high by the sanctioning bodies. I still want to see him against a real live dog in that prime. The problem is I don't think Teixeira's that guy. Marquise says this card has a potential to be nothing but showcase fights. That would include, in my opinion, this main event with Zayas and Teixeira.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the name, your destination is. As soon as I saw the name of the opponent, I went like, yeah, this is a showcase. This is to make sure that Zayas doesn't get his apple cart upset. He keeps his ranking up, and still to highlight him, like I mentioned, like it is Puerto Rican Day weekend, Puerto Rican Day parade. So he's one of the guys that you want to highlight. So ultimately, that's going to be the case when it comes into this fight with Teixeira. And it's probably going to be, this should be the last fight where you can do this kind of matchmaking. Because I'm getting tired of that too, like just stalling when it comes to Xander. He has the potential to be the goods. Let him prove it.
For me, Marquise, I just want to see him against a legit guy that's close to their prime. I wouldn't mind, because I believe I know it's wrong to assume, but let's assume he takes care of business against Teixeira. Who would you like to see top rank, put Zayas in to really test him? Josh Kelly is out there in England. Could put him in there in an eliminator bout. Erickson Lubin is out there. They could put him in there in an elimination bout. Jesus Ramos, they could put him in an elimination bout, right? I just want to see him tested for once before he gets what's likely to be a title shot at some point. Who do you think that would be?
Well, we're going to find out here because they're throwing out the old with this the sheriff card. You know, you can always throw out the old classic line, former world title champ, title holder nonsense. But the one thing that I do want to see with Zayas is that maybe he just needs about one or two more of these kind of fights. Actually, I'm just looking at it because this will only be his third 10-round fight actually, and I know he's been active, but he's been doing a lot of 8-rounders. Maybe they're just keeping him on the food diet here, but maybe we'll get more of these kind of guys where he fights. I would like to see him with someone like like a Lubin, or even someone like a Trout, someone cagey. That's all. But we'll see what happens with this showcase weekend here. Teixeira's a come forward guy, so hopefully he doesn't. Well, he's probably going to run into one, but that's why I expect to see a lot of on this card on Saturday.
Yeah, that says a lot. He's getting highlighted, but if the devil's in the details, and when you really look deep down at this card, for a Puerto Rican Day parade, quote unquote card, this is kind of underwhelming. This is not the same Puerto Rican kind of style Puerto Rican Day card back in the day when you had Miguel Cotto fighting good competition with the live crowd and whatnot. This is not that, folks.
This is not even a hologram. This isn't even a hologram of that.
Right. So a lot of show, but no go when it comes to actual competition here. Unfortunately, in my mind, I'm looking forward more to watching Collazo than I am watching. I'm looking forward to watching Carrington in the undercard here, and I'm looking forward to watching Collazo, who I think is a real deal at 105, than I am towards Zayas. Unfortunately, that's not really his fault. Zayas' fault. It's the folks at Top Rank who I believe is just in the process of building him up, putting him in there with guys that's not really testing him at this point, and that's kind of unfortunate. And I think we're going to end matters on that note. Again, I know for those who may be listening to this and checking out, where's Gail? Unfortunately, she has other obligations, usually on Wednesday evening, But for those who want to talk boxing with her, you can do so. You can find her work at nyfights.com. You can also chop it up with her on Twitter, because I refuse to call it X, as well as IG at PR Pro San Diego. Let me repeat that again, at PR Pro San Diego on both Twitter, and IG. I'll go to you, Daniel, for those who want to talk boxing, for those who want to talk pro wrestling, for those who want to talk the NBA, especially when it comes to all things Miami Heat. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Yes, folks, you can still find me on Twitter. I'll never call it X. Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Threads, all the same handle, same as Marquise, Rawkers99, RAWKZ99. Definitely catch me on there. But I'm hoping, like I said, I'm really hoping now we hit the mid-year point. It's been a pretty entertaining year so far. Let's keep the ball going.
Indeed, absolutely, 100%. I go to you, Daniel. I go to you, Marquise, for those who want to talk all things boxing. Let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yeah, they can find me up, Michael, over at Weak Sauce Radio. That's all one word, all on all the social media platforms. The old Twitter, yeah. No one. That's not going to catch on, guys. Who's calling? No one's calling it X, but Instagram, all that fun stuff. That's pretty much keep your eye, keep an eye on me there for the most part.
Indeed. And for those who want to talk boxing, music, um, fitness on Twitter, because again, I refuse to call it X. You can do so, Brother JR, at Brother JR76 for those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, and all things fragrance / colognes on IG and TikTok. You can do so, including my scent of the days, or scents of the days, my fragrance of the day. You can do so on IG and TikTok at Brother JR SC. On the next episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, we will have a recap of the fight between Collazo and Zapata. Again, Oscar Collazo defending his WBO strawweight belt. That's going to be on the zone in Verona, New York. We will have a recap of Broner and Blair Cobb. Again, that's going to be on June 7th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Also, a recap of the fight between Zayas and Patrick Teixeira. Bruce Shushu Carrington fighting Gracia. That's going to be June 8th in New York City on ESPN. And we will have a preview of the return, depending on what circles you travels. Abdul Wahid, a.k.a. Javante Tank Davis. He returns to the ring to defend his WBA lightweight belt against Frank Martin. Overall, very good card. That's going to be in Las Vegas on Amazon Prime on the undercard. David Benavidez moving up to 175, fight Oscar Gavastik for the WBC interim belt, vacant WBC interim belt at 175. Gary Antoine Russell fighting Alberto Puello. Carlos Adames fighting Terrell Gausha. That's all, again, it's going to be in Las Vegas on Amazon Prime. On the 15th, also on the 15th, the return of Subriel Matias, what I think is going to be a very entertaining fight as Matias defending his IBF 140-pound title against Liam Paro. Also on the 15th, Chris Billum-Smith defending
CBS.
the WBO. You're right, defending the WBO cruiserweight belt against Richard Riotport. They fought previously, I believe.
Yes.
Riotport beat Billum-Smith. This time, in a fight when both were on their way up. This time, Billum-Smith, he's the champion now, beat Lawrence Okoli. Now he's fighting a rematch, this time with Riotport. This time is going to be for a title belt. So that's going to be an interesting fight as well. That's going to be on the 15th in London. So we want to talk about all of those fights. So again, unfortunately, Gail wasn't with us this evening. We hope to have her back on next week. For Daniel of For Boxing News and the inscriber, for Marquise, aka Weak Sauce Radio. I am your host, Michael. This has been episode 447 of the Pound for Pound Box Report. We will see you guys. Hopefully next week. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.